Welcome, everyone. I'm just going to give everyone a minute or so to join before we start today's webinar. Okay, so welcome to the Smurfit Executive Development Virtual Open Week and today's webinar session, Leadership Communication for Results with Aideen Lowe. So my name is Suzanne Brady and I work on the business development team here at Smurfit Executive Development. So before we get into the session, I just want to give you a bit of an introduction to our school for anyone who may not be familiar with us. So Smurfit Executive Development is part of the wider UCD Michael Smurfit Graduate Business School. And we're very pleased to have recently been named as the #1 provider of open enrolment executive education in Ireland, according to the Financial Times 2026 Executive Education Rankings. We also enjoy the Triple Crown of accreditation, and the school is a member of a number of global networks of academic partnerships. So all of this is both testament to and contributes to the high quality learning experience you can expect from us here at Smurfit. So today's session explores one of our short executive programs, Leadership Communication for Results, which takes place here on campus from the 19th to the 21st of October this autumn. So today's session will be led by the Programme Director, Aideen Lowe, and we're also delighted to welcome a past participant, Holly Lockman, who is Head of Sustainability at Kingspan, who will be able to share her insights into the programme at the end of the session. Just to let you know that this webinar will be recorded and we will share the session as well as programme information in the coming days. Also, if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to pop them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, or if you don't see it, you can just click on the 3 dots there to the right with the More button. So with that, I'm delighted to both welcome and hand over to Aideen, Programme Director of Leadership Communication for Results.
Thank you so much, Suzanne, and thank you to everybody for joining today. We're delighted to have you here so that we can share a little bit more about leadership communication for results. So to start off, I'm going to share a little bit of information about the programme itself, and then I'll have a Q&A with Holly so that you can understand a little bit more from a participant perspective. So when we think about some of the key features of this programme, the first is that it's a 3-day programme, which means you will get to spend 3 days in person at the Smurfit campus, really diving into all areas of communication, thinking about how you communicate and thinking about how you can elevate your communication. So we cover a wide range of different tools and frameworks and approaches that will support you in being more effective. And I'll share a little bit more about the programme itself in a moment. What's maybe a little bit different about this programme compared to other programmes is that we have 2 facilitators. And the reason we have 2 facilitators is that we do video recording as part of our program. So on each day of the program, you will be video recorded, putting the theory and the frameworks that we discuss into practice. And I know this can sometimes feel a little bit scary for people, but actually the benefit of being recorded is that you automatically or instantly get to see what the audience sees, and then you can understand what you need to do in order to elevate your communication. When you do get this video recording, or when we do this video recording, you also get the opportunity to receive one-to-one feedback from a facilitator, which is why we have 2 facilitators on the programme. Another feature of the programme is that it's both interactive and reflective. So from the beginning of day 1, you are up and moving around and putting what we're talking about into practice. So although there's quite a lot of theory in the programme, there's a lot of opportunity to put everything into practice, which we think is a really valuable part of the course because it means you can then go and apply it to your real world straight away. It's also very reflective. And I think the benefit of 3 days is that you actually get to take a step back and really think about your own approach when you communicate and look at how you can elevate your approach to communication and also think about incorporating new ideas and approaches to what you do in your workplace. Let's have a look at the programme in a little bit more detail then. If we think about day 1, some of the things that we focus on are preparing your communication. So thinking about what you need to do in order to communicate effectively and how you can prepare for that. We also look at your body language and how you use your voice to the best of your ability so that you can be really effective in communicating your message. Dealing with nerves, we know that a lot of people feel quite nervous depending on the situation that they have to communicate in. And some of these situations can be really high stakes situations. So we focus on how you can deal with those nerves and handle them as best as possible. We look at connecting and engaging with your audience and techniques to help you maintain that engagement. We know in today's world, people are very distracted. There are lots of things that are trying to grab their attention. So we'll really dive in here on day one into how you can keep your audience engaged with your message. And then we also focus on opening and closing effectively. So thinking about the start and the end of your communication and making sure that you deliver the message in the right way to your audience. As I mentioned, we do some video recording on day one, so you'll be doing that from early on day one. And again, that will give you the opportunity to see what the audience sees so you can start to think about how you can tweak your approach to be even more effective. We continue the conversation then on day two. We look at metaphors and other rhetorical devices to support your communication. We also dive into storytelling and thinking about how that can add impact and interest to your story. So you've got the foundation of your communication and your message that you want to deliver, but how can you weave stories in there to make it even more interesting for your audience? We look at preparing for and responding to questions. Obviously, handling questions is a really important part of any communication. So we focus in on how you can do that and we give you the opportunity to practice that. And then we give you time to spend on planning for your final presentation. So the focus of day three is really on this final group presentation where you get to put everything that we've talked about over the 3 days into practice, and then you deliver that final presentation with your group, which is always a really fun part of the course and also very valuable because you're getting to put everything into practice. So day three, to start off, we do some exploring of your comfort zone and how you can push yourself out of your comfort zone. And then we move into structuring and developing your final presentation. And then you get to work with your group on preparing for that final presentation. And then finally, you get to deliver it. And there's always a great sense of achievement at the end of the program when people have put everything into practice and done that final presentation for the rest of the group. If we think about some of the facilitators, as I mentioned, there are two facilitators. So there's myself, Aideen Lowe, and there's also Barbara Moynihan, who's my co-facilitator. And both myself and Barbara have backgrounds in tech, in banking, and we've also run our own businesses. But the common thread in everything that we've done is that communication is the core focus, and that's the area of expertise that we bring to the participants in the group. So we always work, with people as a group to figure out what it is that they're trying to improve upon with their own communication. But we're always very happy to meet with individuals, whether it's over lunch times or break times, to be able to support people on any individual goals that they have as well. And I mentioned the program is both interactive and reflective. And I think the reflective piece is really valuable. There's a lovely quote from American philosopher John Dewey, which is, "We do not learn from our experience, we learn from reflecting on our experience." And throughout the program, you will have the opportunity to reflect on your own experience of communicating in your workplace. And you'll also have the opportunity to reflect on how you're getting on throughout the program, what you're doing, what you'd like to do more of. So there's plenty of opportunity to take that step back and reflect so that you can learn from that experience as well. Something else that I think people often call out as part of this program, and we see in participants, is this idea of stepping out of your comfort zone. So there is definitely an opportunity to step outside of your comfort zone into what we would call the learning zone, where you really get to push and challenge yourself and grow and elevate those skills, like I said, from where they are maybe when you're coming into the program to hopefully where you'll be afterwards. And beyond the comfort zone and beyond the learning zone, there's the danger zone, which is where people feel maybe stressed out and it maybe pushes them a bit too far. So both myself and Barbara, we will never try to get you into the danger zone. It's always getting from the comfort zone into that learning zone. And what I mean by that is that you're learning and growing in a really supportive environment. Our goal as facilitators is to support and coach you in a really supportive way, but also you will get that amazing support from other people in the group as well. And I think there's always that nice sense of being able to support each other while also challenging each other in a really nice way. And you can feel that growth in yourself at the end of the 3 days. So overall benefits of the program, you're getting practice from early on day one. There's immersive learning and you get to expand your network. So really from very early on day one, you're up, moving around, putting into practice what we're talking about. So it's very interactive. It's also very immersive. 3 days away from your workplace, just really focusing on communication and how you can communicate as effectively as possible, bring all of these frameworks and approaches that we're talking about to real life or to life. I think makes it a really valuable experience as well. And then you get to work with amazing people across different companies and industries. And there's always, I suppose, a sense among participants at the end of the program of there's a bit of a bond, I would say, is how I would describe it, because people have been through that experience of going outside of your comfort zone together. And there's always a lovely sense of connection with all of our participants at the end of the program. So now that I've given you a bit of an overview of the program itself, I'm going to bring Holly along. And Holly, I'm going to ask you to share a little bit about your journey as a participant. Holly, before I get you to jump in, you're welcome to join us on screen now. But what I'm also going to do is just share some of the questions that come up from participants that myself and Barbara and our business development team here quite often, that may be helpful for you in understanding whether this is the right course for you. So the first is, I communicate well already. Would it be worth my while attending? Whether you are, a seasoned leader who's used to communicating or somebody who's maybe in a sales or project management role who's starting out communicating, there's something for everybody in this program. So if you are already a seasoned communicator, it's that opportunity to step back and reflect and think about what you're doing and to think about how you can make that even better. And then for people who are, maybe newer to communication and you may feel you communicate well already, it's also that opportunity to think about what else you can learn, what are the tools you can add to your toolkit. What if I'm nervous about presenting or communicating? This is something we hear a lot from participants. And usually at the beginning of day one, people feel quite nervous because it's a bit unexpected. They're not sure, they know there's video recording. They're not sure exactly what that's going to look like. Holly, I can see you smiling there. So I know that's probably something that resonates. I will say that if you feel nervous, that's totally normal. And actually, don't let that put you off coming along, because actually everybody feels that way and we can push you outside of that comfort zone into that learning zone, and you have this huge sense of achievement at the end. So both my Barbara and myself, as I said, we'll be really supportive to you. We'll make sure that we're pushing you and challenging you in a really supportive way. So if you feel nervous, you know, you will have the opportunity to face those nerves, deal with those nerves, and feel much stronger coming out at the end of the program. Do we cover virtual communication? This is something that comes up quite a bit. I think a lot of the tools and frameworks and approaches that we talk about apply whether you're in person communicating or whether you're in the virtual world. So there's a lot of crossover in what we're talking about. And then when we cover some of that body language and voice and the things that you do when you're presenting or communicating in person, we do also touch on the virtual element as well. So for anybody who's really focused on that, there are some ideas that you can take away to help you in virtual communication. And then finally, I've mentioned video recording, and people often ask us, are the video recordings reviewed in front of the room? And the answer to that is no. You will watch your video recording with one of the facilitators in a small private space outside the room. So you will never have to worry about your video recording being displayed at the front of the room in front of everybody. So you will get to see that in a private space with the facilitator afterwards. So hopefully those questions may answer maybe some of the questions that were on your mind already. But of course, we're happy to take questions from you all at the end. But for now, I wanted to say hello, Holly. It's great to see you again. Holly, you were a participant on our last program, and we're really delighted to have you here to share a little bit about your own experience and what it felt like. And maybe, Holly, to start off, I might ask you, what made you sign up for this program for leadership communication for results? What was it that made you sign up in the first place?
Yeah, of course. And thank you very much for having me, Aideen. Yeah, very good question. And I know there's so much competition for courses out there at the moment, and it's really hard to take the time to step away. But I was really looking for some help with crafting a message and learning the tools of how to really deliver and get that message across. So not your average presentation course, which is kind of why I came to this, and it actually came highly recommended to me by a colleague, and really delivered. So yeah, I was delighted.
That's great, Holly. So it was first of all, the recommendation, which is always helpful.
Yes, always
And then
useful.
Yeah, and then the crafting of the messages, you said it's not your typical presentation skills course. It goes a bit
Absolutely.
further than that.
Yeah, so really kind of from my side, I suppose I've done many a presentation course over the years, and often they can be quite repetitive. Sometimes it gets a little bit like I know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I just haven't figured out how to do it. Whereas what I was looking for was something quite different, more focused on crafting a message and like how to really deliver it and get it across, different tools to make that message stronger, etc. And that was really useful.
That's brilliant. And with that in mind, tell me a little bit about your experience of the program.
Yeah, from the start of the program, I think it was just very introspective. Really day one or two, I had quite a lot of aha moments and really identified some key gaps in how I approach communication. And I think that's something that's changed how I think moving forward. So that kind of starting point was really useful. And obviously, as you've already kind of been through the sessions with working with the other stakeholders, doing group and individual practical exercises, it really gets you out of your day to day. And I found it very useful while, as you mentioned, a little bit nervous about that when going into it, but was very, very worthwhile.
Yeah, okay. And I love to hear there were some aha moments even on that first day, which is fantastic. If you were to
Yeah.
think about, Holly, the benefits of the program, so from in your opinion, what were the key benefits of attending the program?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was how to approach communication differently. And it's, again, as I said, beyond the presentation course. It's not just for one format of presenting. It's very much going back to the beginning of, well, what are you trying to achieve here and how and what are the different tools before you even get to your communication. And it also applies to, as you mentioned, virtual presentations, but even writing emails. I've found some of the questions that you guys kind of gave us to prompt, it's really how you communicate as a broader topic, which I thought was really unique. And that really did benefit me in the long run. And I've been able to use that moving forward. Definitely not all the time, but I find now when I know that I'm not approaching things correctly, I kind of go back, I'm like, this I haven't used it and it really, really helps.
Yeah.
And then on the recording piece, as much as it was nerve-wracking, no one likes to watch themselves on video. It was a great way of seeing progress. So
Yeah.
even in the beginning, while it identified challenges, it was one way where people can be quite critical. When you look back, you can see black and white that you have made some progress during the week, and it gives you a bit of a drive to kind of continue doing that and continue trying to use those methods moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Actually, the video from the first day versus the video from
Yeah.
the third day, and then the progress that you make. And actually, that's also, as you said, Holly, a benefit of the recording that it's not just about seeing what the audience seeing, but it's also about that introspective piece, right? Seeing, the progress that you've made yourself, which is really nice.
Yes, and I sometimes feel like I'm going back the other way. It's like, oh no, you can
Yeah.
do it. If you can do it in 3 days, you can definitely do it when you're moving on to kind of future communications.
Yeah, and you can come back to that, right? You come back to the video, what you saw, and you
Yeah.
know you can do it again. And also, you mentioned there that it's the holistic communication, so not necessarily just the presenting,
Yes.
but actually taking a step back. And great to hear as well that it even helped you think about how you write your communication as well, or emails. So obviously in this program, there are lots of different people from different industries and different companies. How did that feel, mixing with people, not just working with people from your own company, but a wide range of people, I suppose.
Yeah, it's really great to get the perspective and not diminishing the work done by yourself, obviously, and Barbara, but really getting feedback from the rest of the participants can be quite unique because they have their own challenges and you start to also identify what your strengths are that you can lean into, but things you wouldn't really think of. So, like some of the participants that we worked with, particularly in the pair exercises, I found really useful kind of giving feedback back and receiving feedback from people in completely different circumstances, kind of sales, tourism, such a wide range of industries, and they're facing sometimes the same challenge, but in a very different circumstance. So I found that really useful. Like I got feedback from one of the girls on the course who was in a tourism industry and she faced a lot of conflict and she was able to kind of give some great pointers in how you approach kind of challenging situations, which I found really useful.
Yeah, and we love to hear that, by the way. We obviously hope you will learn from myself and Barbara, but we love to hear that you learn from each other and you get that feedback. And we do a lot, as you know, Holly, of mixing people up in different pairs and groups,
Yeah.
get different opinions and perspectives. And actually, that's such a benefit as well. Just hearing, a different perspective, a different point of view, and learning from other industries, as you said as well. Um, Tell me about your day-to-day job. Were you able to take what you learned on the program and then apply it to your day-to-day? You said that sometimes you think of things that, I should be doing this or I should be doing that. But was it easy or were you able to apply those learnings back to your real world?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, it kind of really reframed how I approach it, particularly any significant communication that's coming up. It's kind of an approach that you can take moving forward where to start with, even just understanding your audience and their perspective and what you're looking for from them is something that while, we do it maybe the first time we give that presentation, but then you just keep reiterating and not necessarily adjusting depending on who you're speaking to and even the level of understanding in an audience or their particular focus and goals of what they're trying to get into, listening to you as well. So even that approach piece, I think, has really changed. And as I said, definitely not perfect, but I think I now have the tools and I can really identify when I'm not using them, which I wouldn't have had before.
I love that. And it's an ongoing practice, right?
Yeah,
It's very,
very much so.
none of us are perfect, as we always say in the course, but that practice
Yeah.
of reminding yourself and being able to think about the approach. And that's actually one of the key things I think that we're trying to get across is, how can you, flex your approach or do something a little bit different to make yourself more effective? Holly, would you recommend this program to others?
Well, I hope it's clear by now. I definitely would. As I said, the course was recommended to me, and from kind of my approach to these things, it's so challenging, and I know everyone's so busy, so it's really hard to take the time to step out and fully, immerse yourself in a course. I think that's why it works so well. It's not virtual, it's on site. And as I said, after day one, when I had a few moments of, aha, I really need to focus on this because there's so much work and so much I can gain from it. It was well worth the time. And I think that's something that isn't always the case and can be very challenging when kind of selecting courses and stepping out of your day job, but it's definitely been worth it for me anyway.
Yeah, that's fantastic to hear. And our next course is not till October, which gives people time to plan ahead because, as you said, 3 days
Yeah.
can be hard to take out, but
Yeah.
actually the value, it's so worth it when you actually do it and you invest that time in yourself. Holly, anything else to add as a final word before we wrap up this Q&A?
No, nothing too much, but I suppose from my side, I do think I probably fell into the category of someone who did quite a lot of presenting and communications previously and thought I was fine. I was kind of getting the point across, but I do think it's well worth it, even if you fall into that category, to really take some time, sit back and understand what the message you're trying to deliver is and how you can approach it just to make it better. Because I know we all have experience when we get a really good presentation or someone really communicates well, you walk away still thinking about it. So kind of that's the level you're trying to level yourself up to with this course from my perspective. And I think it's something that really gives you the tools to start kind of putting that into practice.
Yeah, even if we do something all the time, we all have something to learn or we can refine what we're doing, which can be really helpful. Holly, thank you so much for taking the time to share your experience. It's
Yeah, of
also
course,
really
Sadie.
interesting for me, even as the facilitator, to hear a little bit more about your perspective. So really enjoyed that chat with you. And what I'm going to do now is hand back over to Suzanne just to share a little bit more detail on some of the logistics of the course.
Thank you, Aideen and Holly, very much for joining us. That was very insightful. Aideen, just have one question for you. I think Holly gave us quite an insight there into how she applied the learnings from the program to develop her communication style. And I'm just wondering, as a facilitator, what's the biggest change really that you can pinpoint as you see in participants on the program from the beginning to the end of the 3 days?
So I would say the biggest change that both myself and Barbara would see is the confidence in people, confidence in themselves and in their delivery, but also confidence in the tools or the approaches that they're using. Like Holly said, she's thinking about maybe approaching things in a different way. And I think people walk away from the end of the 3 days feeling more confident about the tools or the frameworks that they're using and confidence in their own ability to deliver the message as well. So I would say that's the key piece. And I think the video recording probably does help with that as well
Yeah.
because you get to see your progress over the 3 days. So you are also confident that you have that confidence as well, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, great. No, thank
Yeah.
you. So I'll finish there. I'll just provide some information on the program for everyone, if you want to share that slide. So as Aidan said earlier, the program runs this autumn from the 19th to the 21st of October, and it's in campus here at Smurfit Executive Development. It's over the 3 days, quite an intense 3 days from 9 to 5, and delivered all in person, as discussed during the webinar session. At the end, the award is a certificate of completion from UCD Smurfit Executive Development. And the fees are 3,000, but we also offer a discount rate for UCD alumni. So I just want to thank Aideen for taking the time today to share all the information on the program, and also Holly for taking time out of her sunny lunch break to share information as a past participant, and also to everyone for joining us here today. So just to reiterate that we'll be sharing the webinar recording with you after the session, and I'll also include the program information in that. And we hope that we can welcome some of you here to Smurfit Executive Development in the autumn. So thank you all very much. Thank you. Bye.